What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our channel. This is Reality Check TV. I'm Bree.
And I'm Evan.
And here's where we discuss some of our favorite reality shows to watch together as a couple. So if you love reality TV like we do, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can get notified anytime we post a new review.
And you guys have been doing a good job at that. You know, the past couple of days, past couple of weeks, we've really been adding to the community. You know, we appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. Y'all definitely been on them comments.
So again, welcome back to our channel. And for all of our new subscribers and our new friends, our new family, our new cousins, hey, welcome. Welcome to the fam. We really hope that you all had a great weekend and having a good week so far by the time you get this video. We've had an eventful weekend. A lot going on. You know, life be lifing, stress be stressing. But we are here. We are Black and we're proud. So we're here to have a good time. And for those of you who didn't have a good weekend, I hope that this video puts a smile on your face, because this has been, you know, for the last few months, this has really brought me a lot of joy, despite anything else that's going on and all of the stressors at work or family or anything else. This has been really fun getting to know you guys and be able to just create a little community. So we love it.
And we hope you enjoy us too. We're here to have a great time. You know, we're here to share, here to chit chat. So you guys know how we do.
You ready? I thought you was gonna do it. Let's get into it. Okay, guys. So we are back for another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. Unfortunately, dealing with the same BS, but we are here. So this video, we're not going to do order of events. We're going to do couple by couple, or basically we're going to start with the most insignificant storyline and just kind of go from there. Because I can imagine y'all know what we really want to talk about. Y'all know what we really want to talk about in this episode. So let's just get Stormy and her family out the way. Okay. So the episode picks up. Of course, y'all already know where the last one left off. And Stormy is really hell-bent on trying to get her aunt to talk to her mother. It's not happening. We said this last week and the week before. The way that this whole family meeting was conducted was just a disaster. You know, the only thing left that I have to say about Stormy's situation with her family is number one, it's really unfortunate. I said that last week. But then number two is, you know, I truly do feel like Stormy's mom has a bit of evilness in her that is just not like it just is really like, it just puts a bad taste in my mouth. Her energy was extremely negative. I feel like she enjoyed a lot of what was happening. And it's unfortunate because I really feel like Stormy's aunt was being really genuine with a lot of her feelings. And you can tell that she was getting really overwhelmed and she was hurt by everything that was happening in that moment. And you can tell that she really loves Stormy. She loves her niece. But Stormy's mom, I just don't feel like she had good intentions. Something about her just doesn't sit right with my spirit. And Stormy, you not correcting your mother seems to be an issue that we are seeing so far throughout the season. I have nothing else for you. I have no more commentary really for you. I've said it at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna repeat it now. It's very hard to tell which scenes are real with Stormy and when she's actually being authentic. I don't think that this scenario was fake at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I just question the intentions on everybody else with Stormy's aunt. I don't know if they had the best intentions for her. So that was really sad to see. Did you have anything to add?
Her mom gives me Conjuring vibes. I mean, I'm just talking about pure evil.
Why no, seriously. Say Conjuring.
The Conjuring, yeah, like
the Conjuring.
Yeah, pure evil. Like
I thought it was a Conjuring.
Same thing. But it's one of those things where it's like she's literally smiling at somebody else's pain, laughing at somebody else's pain. It's just evil. It's just like, this is why you don't have no man.
I think she comes off extremely spiteful. I think that's the thing, is like she plays the tit for tat game. Mm-hmm. I can already tell and identify the type of character she is within the family, mm-hmm. because we all have them. So I'm able to kind of read who she is. Mm-hmm. That's definitely the auntie you need to stay away from. Like, mm-hmm. just always miserable, mm-hmm. always negative. Thinks that her child, because Stormy's the only child, mm-hmm. thinks that her child is better than everybody else.
And she's trying to live through her too.
And trying to live through Stormy and be way too involved in her mm-hmm. life in a lot of different ways. But when it comes to this family dynamic, you know, I think she found way too much joy in trying to belittle her nephew.
Yep.
Right? Like, let's
because she was calling him a prick and all this stuff. Like, right. This is still blood. Like,
right. She just doesn't come off like a nice person. She doesn't. So. She doesn't come off like a nice person. So I'm tired of seeing mothers get on these reality shows and act this way. I don't know what they're trying to prove.
Well, I mean, I already talked to you about this. They're not getting a spinoff. They are not going to be in an intro holding a peach. If y'all watch that. But no, like, these mothers seem like they literally come on and, like, literally, I think the night before they rehearse their lines.
They do that.
You know, the first time we saw Stormy's mother at that tea party, like, security should have been called.
Really fast, Stormy and Courtney are having a conversation at the end of the episode talking about, I guess they fired another, I don't want to say relative, I think this was Courtney's best friend. I guess one of Courtney's friends worked at the warehouse as well, and they just got finished firing him. So they're having this conversation about the changes that they want to make at the warehouse. You know, this conversation just, I don't know what it was, but it gave me the vibe that I feel like Courtney probably had a little bit of a stronger influence on Stormy firing Junior. This isn't me sticking up for Junior. We still don't really know him, right? Like, we don't know him. They said that he wasn't working hard enough. He was on his phone while he was supposed to be working. Stormy said in the car that when it was just them two, meaning Courtney and Stormy, when they were actually doing the shipment, like, they were getting out way more products than they are now, and they have a staff. So they just feel like people have just been really lagging. But I don't know Junior like that. And so I'm not trying to stick up for him because I don't know him. And he could have definitely been wrong in many cases. But I'm more so talking about the way things were handled. And I don't know, just I guess the conversation between Courtney and Stormy in the car, it just kind of gave me the vibe that I think he has a little bit more of a hand in the firing and hiring and trying to convince Stormy to make a lot of tough decisions. Because she even said, you know, we had to make a lot of tough calls. We had to let go of two people that we really care about, and it was tough. It was a tough decision. And Courtney said, no, it wasn't tough. It needed to be done. And so I'm like, okay, all right, Suge Knight. Okay. Like,
I don't know what to say. Like, during their whole scene, I think I took like 3 naps. So I don't know what I can say.
He says this every episode.
But you know, I'm past what Stormy has going on with her family. Like, I'm past that Jerry Springer segment. Her and Courtney, I mean, like I said, it's part of a business, you know, staff. I feel like maybe, like, you know, Stormy said in the beginning with her staff, she likes to try to create a family atmosphere. And one thing, sometimes what goes wrong at work is when you try to create that too much cool family atmosphere, a lot of people slack off. They literally take advantage of that whole feel.
Yeah.
Like, they feel like, oh, we cool, so, you know, they ain't gonna get on me if I slack off. They ain't gonna get on me if I do this, do that. No, this is still a business.
Yeah, I agree
And that's the problem with hiring family and friends. So, it's one of those things where I guess that whole system went south of trying to create that atmosphere. And it's like, during hours, this is still business. You got to do your job if you want to get paid. And, it goes to show that, they need to change some things, what's going on in that warehouse.
Yes, and I agree with you as far as like family getting too comfortable when they're employees of a family owned business, but I also think in a lot of cases so can't the owners, right? And there's been a lot of cases where they can take advantage because you're family, and so whether it's overworking you or not compensating you or just different things that can come into play with that. But regardless, I think there's so many different scenarios and so many different hurdles that come up when you hire friends and family. And you work together. But whatever, we talked about them way too long. We're done.
Next. Okay, so the next scene we have Mr. Martell Holt. And it seems like, I don't know if it's in his own house or he went to go visit his therapist, but he's having a therapy session. And I believe this is kind of court ordered. Don't quote me.
Yes, it is.
Because I believe that the court ordered mail has the kids going to a therapist. And it was court ordered too for Martell to be going, to a therapist as well. During the session, Martell claims that he feels like he does not have a self-balance. And I don't know what you guys define as self-balance. I'm thinking of, that whole psychological, emotional, physical well-being. I mean, when you're a terrorist and you're promoting terrorism, you're not always, the most healthiest person in the mind. Especially like when you wake up, breathe in mail and go to sleep, breathe in mail, it's kind of drag. It's, it gets tiring, but, he also talks about too, he mentions about some of his frustrations, and these frustrations went towards his babysitter and his mom, what happened that day. He claims like one thing that makes him mad is when people do not do what they say they're going to do or what they're supposed to do. And he referred to the babysitter being late, and he referred to something that went on with his mom that day. I don't know. What's your take on his relationship with his mom?
Oh, you already know my take. I've already said it on here about how I feel about Miss Marlene and their relationship. One thing I do want to note, though, during his therapy session, when he made that comment about he just got into a argument with his mother, I wish we would have been able to see that. And I say that because every time that we do get a scene with Miss Marlene and Martell, there's never any her being in mommy role right. or the mom role of holding her son accountable. If you let Miss Marlene tell it, like Martell is the best thing in the entire world. Since sliced bread. Like he does no wrong and he's perfect and he shouldn't even be in therapy. So for that alone, I would want to see what that was even like, because I'm like, well, they got into it or they had a disagreement. What was that disagreement like? Was it you going completely off on your mother and disrespecting your mother? Or did you how did you handle the conflict? Right. We've only seen him really handle conflict with another woman, and that's been Mel. And Tisha's mother. Yeah. Right? And in both situations, both women, he didn't handle it very well. So I was just intrigued to see how he handles his mom. Right. But what was interesting is when the therapist brought up his dad, and he said that his dad is somewhere in Huntsville. He doesn't know. We've all met his dad. If you've been watching this show since the beginning, or at least for the last few seasons, seasons ago, Martell met up with his dad and they went fishing. And you can tell that his dad is just non-existent. I think he's mentioned that he was kind of in and out of prison and was just on the streets most of his life. Yeah, in and out his life. Right. And so he was raised, him and his brother, because we find out that he has a brother as well, a little brother. They were raised by Miss Marlene and Martell's grandmother. So what was interesting is Martell saying how he doesn't blame or use his father being absent and being raised by a single mother or anything that she did as an excuse for the decisions that he makes today. Like, he feels like that's a cop out. One hand, I actually agree, right? I am a child that was raised by a single parent, a single mom. And that has been my thing for many years. But then on the other hand, you have to realize, Martell, that even though you don't want to use it as an excuse, reality is our parents are our foundation. These are our first loves. This is the starting point for us. And so whether you like it or not, or whether you identify it or not, you still have that trauma that you're operating in. So whether you want to use it for an excuse or not, but that is, it's not necessarily using it as an excuse, but that could be the reason why you lack in communication, you lack emotional intelligence, you lack in a lot of different areas because you haven't really dealt with your past, your foundation. So that is one of the many beauties of therapy, is recognizing things that we tuck away so deep, especially from our childhood traumas. And it helps us bring it back to the light and deal with it. There's a difference between moving past something and healing from something. And that you can tell off rip, that's Martell's problem. That's Martell's problem. It's not to place blame or to say it's all Miss Marlene's fault, or it's all his father's fault, or all of his grandmother's fault. It definitely takes a village to raise a child. And he is a grown man and he should be held accountable for his actions. But at the same time, when you want to do some real healing and you want to be a better person, you have to face those demons. You have to.
So we have a scene later on in the episode when Martell's brother Montez comes to pay him a visit at his house. I believe Montez is the younger brother.
Yeah.
He's younger than Martell. He recently just got off of probation. He is married, from what we come to find out. And they had some interesting conversations at the dining room table. Martell lets us know about when it came to raising his brother, how he kind of tried to take his brother under his wing, with their father not being in their life, how he tried to, set the tone for him and whatnot. I know, right? Go figure. He talked about Montez growing up, he's kind of been in some trouble left and right. And now, he's trying to get him on the right path. They're discussing, talking about Montez's next moves. Montez is reaching out to Martell about, teach me some things. Like, I'm trying to do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. And Martell speaks about the Black Expo, in which he tells Montez, I think it'd be great for you to come by, come see some entrepreneurs, come see some business owners, maybe learn a thing or two. The expo, which, I'm glad we are not talking about that this episode.
One thing that Martell's brother mentioned, he said that, their father wasn't in their life, and he was like, I feel like we were probably better off that way. Like, our life could have been way worse if he was. And I found that interesting because, there's so much, I think we're constantly hearing the narrative about how, it's always our fault, ladies. Like, we already know that. Like, every time our children are out here and they grow up and become young men and young women, if anything goes wrong, it's always our fault, especially if you are a single mother, right? But for the first time, somebody said something on TV that I was able to connect with when it comes to being raised by a single mother. And the narrative that I don't feel like is talked about enough is, what about the situations where the kids are actually better off with not having said father, biological father, in their life? That's definitely my story. My life could have turned out a whole lot worse than what I imagine if that individual was a part of my life, because of who he was. So because he wasn't in my life, it saves me a lot of emotional and physical abuse because that's who my father is. So it's not taking away from responsibility once again from Miss Marlene, right? But at the same time, I think that it was extremely imperative to have a young man on TV say like, hey, yeah, it wasn't a situation where my mom kept my father out of our lives, which people love to run with that stupid narrative. But it's a situation where we probably would have been better off. And I remember the conversation that Martell had with his father. And his father was very open with saying, like, basically, I ain't ish. Like, I wasn't able to be there for you guys because I really couldn't be there for myself. And I think that also takes a lot of strength to be able to identify that as well. But again, I just want them to be able to really identify their childhood traumas and really work through it. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point with Martell Hope. I really don't. But I don't know his brother. So, I hope that he's in therapy. I know he talked about it. All right. So we said a little prayer. We said a little prayer, y'all, before we talk about the main events. And that is Maurice and Kimmy. Once again. And by far, I've said this before, and I still stand by it. He, to me, is the worst Scott brother on the show. And that's hard to say because you know how I feel about Marsau. But Maurice, oh my gosh. Maurice.
Well, I can't figure out. I do feel Maurice is worse because Marsau, you can't be mad at him. His wife allows him to literally run over her with both cars.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he should.
Oh no, he right? Doesn't mean he should.
Just because Tisha allows him to do it doesn't mean he should. And right, so I'm not going to excuse that for him being a horrible husband and a horrible support system, just a horrible person all around.
You're saying husband. I don't know what you mean.
Technicalities here is what I'm speaking to. That's his assistant. That's what I'm speaking to. Technicalities here, a horrible boss. Whatever. We know Marsau has a lot of issues with him, but again, I think that's part of the problem. People constantly ignoring that because it's like, oh, well, Tisha allows him to do it, and it's just kind of like, yeah, but let's also hold him accountable. Like that's just my thing with Marsau, but it's not about Marsau. It's about the other one. So Kimmy and Maurice go on a horrible date night. It was a date night from hell, right?
Wine and design.
And first of all, it's a double date. So that's, negative number one, because here comes Marsau and Tisha. But they're doing this whole glass painting thing. So they're, making their own wine glasses. And the instructor mentions how to take care of your glasses to make sure you hand wash them and not put them in a dishwasher. They're having a good time, but then here goes Maurice with his smart ass sexist comments about how, oh yeah, that's your department, talking to Kimmy. And it's like, see, here we can't even have a date night without you being a complete asshole. And Kimmy's like, okay, well, let's talk about how you need to be teaching your son how to wash a dish or two. Right? And he was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what are you talking about Monster for? And then it starts the conversation once again that we've been having for weeks now with them two about Maurice supporting Kimmy when it comes to the parenting of Monster. So we're starting this dialogue again. In walks Marsau and Tisha, and they're talking about it, and Marsau, being who he is, it's so funny because I feel like their dynamic, their brother dynamic. Sometimes I feel like they have this competition between each other where they want to call each other out or make it seem like one brother is worse than the other. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Am I the only one that feels that way? Like they have those moments all the time. Like when Maurice does something, Marsau will love to harp on it and call it out in front of a group of people to kind of put his brother on blast. And then Maurice does the same thing, but Marsau does it worse to me. So he's just kind of like, basically like, come on, Maurice, like, you know, you need to support Kimmy when it comes to disciplining Monster. And Maurice is still standing 10 toes down on, you are his parent too. You don't need my support. It's fascinating. Then they deflect the conversation, or Maurice deflects the conversation into how Kimmy needs to work out her issues with Kiowa. And it's so infuriating. And you could tell the frustration even with Kimmy, because that's not the issue. You're just deflecting. You're deflecting. And of course, the dumbest one in the room will fall for it, aka Tisha, because she's like, yeah, Kimmy, like, you know, you and Kiowa need to have a conversation, or y'all should be able to communicate when it comes to raising Monster. And I'm like, Tisha, see, like, once again, you're falling for the okie doke. You're allowing these men to mansplain and divert you to a situation that's not even a part of the conversation. Because Kimmy even said, like, y'all are going out of your way to misunderstand me. Like, you're intentionally trying to misunderstand where I'm coming from. This has nothing to do with Kiowa. This is about when I am trying to raise your son, the bare minimum is that I need you to support me in that. Bare minimum.
It's like, Letitia, just sit there, smile, and be happy to be there.
It was just like, I was like, of course she's the one that falls for that in the moment.
Well, you know, Letitia Airhead, just sit there, smile, and just paint. Just
because
be happy to be there.
Even her husband was like,
her boss.
Shut up. Even her husband, Marsau, was like, you know, well, one way to support Kimmy in this is like, how about you don't leave meetings when it's all four of them? Because I don't know if you guys remember seasons before, it was Kiowa's husband, I think his name is Zay, and Kimmy and Maurice that were supposed to have like a co-parenting discussion. And Maurice got up and left because he had a meeting and left Kimmy there.
Left Kimmy to fend by herself.
As always.
Send her to the wolves.
And Marsau brought it up. He was like, you know, maybe you don't do that. How about you don't do that? And that's a way to show support. So maybe you should be there when it is time for everybody to co-parent together. Maybe you show up. And I was like, even Marsau, but here goes with Tisha. Tisha don't get it. Maybe you guys need to have a conversation on how to communicate on how to best raise Monster. And it's like, no, maybe his father should lead in this situation, step up and be a father and raise his son and support his wife when it comes to her being a stepmother. Because that's what she is. She's a stepmother.
Somebody should have just gave Letitia her Capri Sun so she can sit there, smile, and just be happy.
Then we get a scene where Kiowa comes into town to have a conversation with Monster, Kimmy, and Maurice. So they have Monster be a part of this discussion to kind of just see where Monster's at. Off rip, I could tell Monster was emotionally disengaged, or I would say there was an emotional block. I could tell, right? This is not even my brother, my child, my cousin. Nobody. I never met these people, but I could just tell that there was something in him that's just kind of brewing, but he's trying to keep tucked away.
He seems like he's just very disinterested in what his dad has to say right now.
But beyond just that, I felt like there was also a lot of emotions that he hasn't had the opportunity to express. You can just tell that he was holding on to something emotionally.
Oh yeah.
And it's so funny because we was watching this episode with my mom, and as soon as Monster came into the scene in Kiowa and they sit down and they talk, my mom was like, what's going on with Monster? Because she was like, he just don't seem like he's there. You could tell that he's going through something and he's trying to figure it out. Number one, he's a teenage boy that's away from his mother. So without them even having the conversation, we're able to identify that at the very beginning, right? Maurice was like, oh, well, did he tell you about the boot camp that we're doing? And it's like, no, what's going on with the boot camp? And he repeats what he said episodes ago about how they will get up every morning and he works out. And so even Kaya was like, okay, well, then how can we also make sure Kimmy is getting what she needs and make sure that he's doing what he needs to do in the house? Like, those responsibilities aren't going unaddressed. And Maurice goes into this whole receptive face foolishness. He looks at Monster. He's like, oh, you don't look really receptive to what everybody's saying. And Monster's like, I mean, how am I supposed to look?
What does a receptive face look like?
Yeah, Maurice just wanted to talk.
Yeah, he wanted his try to be that little, I don't know, try to drill him for no reason, honestly.
Right. It's like trying to be what I said this episodes ago, like him trying to always be like a public speaker or like an influential speaker. He's constantly doing that, and it's just kind of like, dude, like that had nothing to do with anything to me. And I felt like, once again, you're talking at your son and not trying to get an understanding of what's going on with him. And the two women that were in the room, which is so ironic, are trying to have a conversation with Monster and trying to really get to the bottom of how he's feeling and how we can get better. Yeah. How can they best support him, and what Monster can do to best support Kimmy more so with being in the house when it comes to his chores and everything. That's what it was about. It's about a family coming together and having a conversation with their kids, right? And not talking at them. Long story short, Maurice dismisses Monster to go finish homework. And it's then Kimmy, Kiowa, and Maurice left in the room talking. And Maurice says, I just feel like I was the only one that was talking.
Yeah, he said he felt like he was left on an island.
Right. And Kimmy's like, no, I don't believe that at all. I just think you talk too much. Is basically what she was saying. And I was like, thank God that his wife said that. Because Maurice talks too damn much. Yeah, he do. With a whole bunch of nothing. And so they then, I think it was Kiowa that mentions, like, I could see that something was going on with him. Like, maybe he's not, like, emotionally here or distant or something's going on. There's some type of an emotional block. And Maurice, of course, does what, a lot of men tend to do. And says that, yeah, of course he is, because you babied him. He's used to you babying him. Of course he misses being with you because you babied him. Right? So it's her fault. Where Monster's at now, it's because of her. And I do love and appreciate that Kimmy then chimed in and was like, okay, we can say that. If you want to say that she was babying him, whatever, that's between y'all when it comes to that. But what I can tell you, and what I have noticed, you also are not emotionally available for him. You're not spending time with him. Kimmy mentioned how he spends a lot of time in his room.
Majority of his time is in his room by himself. And how he's not getting that one-on-one father time with his dad. And Maurice gets totally offended. He's like, what do you mean? Like, I talk to my son all the time. Like, I spend a whole bunch of time with my son. And Kimmy's like, when? How? He's like, I drop him off at school and we have conversations then. And I'm like, this nigga can't be serious right now. He said, drops him out of school, picks him up from school, and claims that he helps Monster with his homework. But if he was helping Monster with his homework, Monster wouldn't be falling behind the way he has.
I am so exhausted by people, not just men, people using the excuse of the mother and the woman is the one that is supposed to have all of the emotional responsibility in the connection with the children, and the men are supposed to just provide and protect. I'm over that. I don't care what your gender is. You do not get to be emotionally unavailable to your children. I don't care what the situation is. That makes you a bad parent to me. If you don't even know who your child is, you don't spend time with them because you feel like, I don't know, you think that's only the mom's job, it's only the mom's position to get to know your children, know who they are as individuals, because at the end of the day, beyond them being your kids, they're individuals. They're people with their own personalities, their own emotional struggles, their own emotions, period. And for you to not be invested, emotionally invested into your children because you're the father, I'm over that. You don't get to tap out because you have a penis. That's not how any of this works. It actually would do a child good, especially a young man, to see how his father handles emotions. Being emotionally connected with his son is extremely powerful and important during a young man's development. I really wanted to get your stance on it because, raised in a 2-parent household. What is your opinion on this?
Short and simple. If you don't have an emotional, if you don't have emotional connection with your kids, you won't know your kids. You won't know what's going on in their lives. You won't get to know them as people. You're gonna feel unattached. Like this: parent first, friend second. Cool.
Keep going.
Parent first, friend second. Cool. But one thing that gets me is, like I said, as a parent, your kid is a piece of you. They share your blood, your chromosome. Why would you not want to get to know your child? Why would you not want to get to know a piece of you? I just don't believe in parents getting so busy based upon work or whatever they have going on where they can't literally take time out the day to spend time with their kid. Because at the end of the day, as adults, we put time to what we want to put time into. And Maurice is that type of person where, and he said it too, he feels like parents shouldn't have to do everything for their kids. I understand that in some contexts, but sometimes depending on how the child grew up, their age, their experience, their exposure, you can't say that. There's certain times we gotta really either be on your child, walk them through things, really take time to be patient with them, show them things, teach them things.
You have to teach. You have to teach them.
Yeah, you have to. And my thing is this, and I think one thing that's so lost about this is we don't know if Monster really wanted to move down to, where are they at again?
Huntsville.
To Alabama from Michigan. That was what Maurice wanted to do. He wanted Monster to move down for high school.
Right.
But
to paint a picture.
Yeah, but we don't know if Monster had a say in that. Because I'm a firm believer, Monster probably had a different personality up there in Michigan. And probably got down to Huntsville, knowing he didn't want to be down here. His dad is busy, he doesn't have time for him. That's one of the things where he just shut down, just in his room.
And beyond just the time, the quality time, because I'm a firm believer that kids, my opinion, I feel like children have to have all 5 love languages. They need all 5. They need the quality time. They need the physical touch. They need the gift giving when being rewarded, and we can go into detail about what that looks like. They need words of affirmation. What's the other one? I said quality time. I said physical touch. I feel like I'm missing one. But they need all 5. Uh-huh. So it was interesting when Kiowa and Monster ended up going out to dinner and having a conversation one-on-one. And I also remember Kimmy mentioning that Monster's very loving. He's a very soft spirit, right? Like he's very touchy. He's expressive. Like that's who he is at his core. That's who he is as a person. And so to be removed from the one parent that was clearly emotionally invested in their child and moving into the house with the parent that is emotionally disconnected, it does something to the psyche and it creates an emotional imbalance.
Uh-huh.
And for that to be not recognized, and for Maurice not to understand the long-term implications of what's going to happen and the type of damage that he's doing to this young man right now, because these are very important years. He's a teenage boy and he's away from his mom. For Maurice not to understand that is so alarming.
When you don't have a connection, both parents are important. First, let's start with that. Both parents are important.
Yes.
Mothers and fathers are important. They each give you certain things. But when it comes to a young man, you know, having the ability to have your father in your life, you know, we don't know their full relationship. We don't know how things have been going the past couple years with Maurice and Monster. But it's one of those things where
I feel like we can kind of get an indication.
well, you may be able to get an indication. Yeah. But it's one of those things where Monster is going to remember this stuff. The boy's 16. He's fully aware. You know, these kids are growing up fast. They're exposed fast. You know, there could be some resentment towards his dad within the next couple of years. And you know, that resentment could bleed into different parts of his life. Mothers and fathers each teach you great things to carry on with life. Your mom can only teach you so many things. Your dad can only teach you so many things. But you bring up the term village.
Yes.
And villages do replace sometimes pieces that could be filled in by others. You know, it's
well, I don't, and that, to harp on that a little bit, I personally do not believe that it just takes the mom and the dad. And I feel like really to raise a actual adult, to raise an adult, mm-hmm. you do need a village.
Well, I mean, for myself growing up, I came from a 2-parent household. I was a military brat where we moved all around the world. We moved about every 2 to 3 years. And I'll say for myself, I would say my dad worked a lot. So physically, and I would say emotionally, he really wasn't there as much as he wanted to be. But I would say as soon as I kind of got into more of the college years, we kind of built more of a connection where we've been able to talk more. You know, he's been able to learn more about me. I've been able to learn more about him. And, you know, it's one of those things where I wish we could have done that a little bit sooner. But I do cherish the ability to do it now, still, you know, learn about each other and continue to build our bond. And connecting that to Maurice and Monster, you know, it's one of those things where Monster is at the prime time of his years. He's 16 years old. And for myself, seeing the benefits of a connection with my father and the things that he's been able to teach me and things I've been able to learn from him at this age that I'm at now that I didn't learn earlier, you know, I feel it's very important for Maurice to really not let this time fly by, because this is really going to affect Monster down the road. What Maurice would be able to do for Monster, I would say from a man standpoint, is the ability to help kind of give him some structure, give him some guidance, you know, really show him some things, how to be a successful Black man in this world. And, you know, my dad, for me, you know, we still have those talks nowadays, and I'm 33 years old, because we talk about how when I was in high school, even middle school, and like I said, me and my dad really didn't build that connection till I'd say about junior year of college. I do feel like I missed out, and I am trying to catch up. And it's one of those things where Maurice will regret not trying to have a connection with his child and really trying to make sure he's coming from a good situation to take on this world.
So while Kimmy and Maurice are having a conversation, just them two, at the end of the episode, it was brought up how maybe family therapy is a good idea, because it's clear that Monster has some emotions that he's keeping tucked away. And Maurice is on this whole, oh yeah, it needs to be all of us, meaning Kimmy and Zay and Kiowa and Maurice. And Kimmy's like, well, I think it definitely should be Monster and his two parents. I think that it should be y'all, because her thing is she doesn't want Monster to feel ganged up on. And Kiowa said the same thing when it was the four of them talking, that maybe why he's not opening up a lot is because, you know, people are talking at him. It's four adults or three adults talking at him. And he'll be more comfortable if he is talking to his parents versus his step parents and a whole bunch of people in the room. It made sense to me, and I'm pretty sure it made sense to y'all. But Maurice is so hell bent on not understanding and just deflecting. And in his mind, he is now trying to twist what Kimmy's saying and make it seem like Kimmy doesn't want to be involved and doesn't want to be a parent to Monster. And it is what it is. Kimmy's already raised her son. Already raised his son. I already raised her son, meaning Jalen. This is your child. You have one child. Raise your child. Kimmy, yes, is a bonus mom. She's a stepmom or whatever you guys want to call her, but she is not the one that gave birth to Monster. That is between you and Kiowa. And so eventually, how it should work, how family therapy should work, it definitely should get to a point where all of them are able to then have a conversation. And so you bring in the step parents and you have maybe 1 or 2 sessions on that. But at the beginning, it should definitely be first the child by himself. And then you start adding in the parents. You add in Kiowa, you add in Maurice. Maybe they do a couple of sessions like individually with Monster. And then it's going to be the 3 of them. And then down the line, maybe you add in the step parents. That would be a healthy progression when it comes to family therapy in this situation. But Maurice is always trying to make it seem like he knows best and he knows nothing at all. I've told you before, I don't feel like Maurice is very bright, but because he over explains things, he thinks he's the smartest one in the room. And Kimmy once again called him out for talking too damn much and saying a whole bunch of nothing. And because she was able to hold his feet to the fire in this conversation when it came to the family therapy, he then once again wanted to deflect and talk about how Kiowa and Kimmy need to have a conversation to move past their issues. And we're over it. Kimmy said it. She was like, we don't have any issues. That was the past. We've moved forward. Like there's nothing there. And he just continues to be passive aggressive and just deflect and gaslight, of course, the situation, and just says how there is an issue and she's just not being honest. And even when they were doing the wine glass making class, he made a comment about how I guess Kiowa was moving forward, but Kimmy wasn't. Maurice is such an issue. And everybody knows he's an issue except for Maurice. And that's why I feel like he is the most dangerous.
I feel from watching Kimmy and Maurice's interactions, it's really one of those things where I do question, does Maurice actually listen to his wife? And when I say that, you know, they just went through this whole storm of Kimmy with cancer. And I really thought that was going to bring them closer together. And when I say that, I mean, really for Maurice, I really thought that was kind of going to ground him, humble him a little bit more and have him really appreciate his wife. But, you know, all that went out the window because, you know, Maurice, we just seen that shit ain't changed.
It's, at this point, I'm going to assume you guys saw the little interview that he did with Carlos King. It has been trending on social media. Of Maurice just talking about how Kimmy does her duties and sacrificing her body to make sure that he gets what he needs as far as sex. Maurice is disgusting. I don't know if you guys, I'm going to assume you guys have seen the video. If you watch us, more than likely you saw this video. I was truly disgusted. Maurice is disgusting. And Kimmy, I have so much respect for you, and I'm really trying to understand how you even got caught up in this relationship with Maurice. I have no idea what attracted you to him. He does not seem like a good person at all. And what he was saying in that video during that interview with Carlos, he doesn't respect you at all. Your body just went through trauma. You have cancer. And for him to get online and talk about how you did your duty, you did what you were supposed to do in sacrificing your body because he needs sex and he cannot control his urges, as if you're some sex doll, is disgusting. After seeing that video, it just once again, it just makes it harder and harder to watch this show because I was truly disgusted by that.
You know, it's one of those things where I'm not surprised how his relationship is after just looking at the bigger picture. I'm not surprised how his relationship is with Monster due to I see his relationship is with Kimmy. You know, I feel like he's disconnected from both of them. You don't listen to Kimmy, you don't listen to Monster. It's everything about what Maurice needs. Like I said, he has he has Monster. This 5 camp boot camp is not for no disciplinary reason. He's trying to live through live through Monster because he wants him to play football. Having him wake up doing football workouts, talking about GPA and talking about his goals to go to Ohio State and play football. This is Maurice living through Monster. He don't know his child, but he wants his child to do football. So it's about what Maurice wants when it comes to that. Then with Kimmy, you know what Maurice wants. I need my sex. I don't care what you have going on. I'm not washing no dishes. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that. You do it. That's your territory. That's your department. That's about what Maurice wants. So he has Monster and Kimmy in the same field, but just on different sides. They're each having to deal with the wrath of Maurice.
And this is a lack of respect.
Yeah, for both of them.
Yeah, he doesn't see them as people, as individuals. A lot of the humanity is gone. And again, the way he talked about his wife in that interview is as if she was a sex doll. And
so we have a sex doll, and then we have I guess you call Monster a football project, because that's what Maurice is trying to do. So pretty much, y'all, that was that episode. You know, bunch of foolery, bunch of nonsense. You know, we had another episode of Seeing No Mail. So y'all know how those episodes go. Y'all definitely let us know what y'all think about it in the comments. From what I see from the previews, I believe this is a to be continued conversation.
Yeah.
That should start off next episode with Kimmy and Maurice.
Yeah.
Go figure, get your popcorn ready for that one. Popcorn or gin or vodka, because y'all know what Maurice over his mouth. You need something. But, you know, y'all let us know what y'all think. Before anything, we want to let you guys know, too, that we also did, too, view the very first episode of Love and Marriage Detroit.
Boy, did we. Did you? Because we did.
We are going to give Detroit another episode next week to see how we really feel.
How did you feel?
I was a little bit intrigued.
Really?
I was a little bit intrigued. Just because, I mean, new cast, new people. You know, you can't learn something about everybody from one episode. I'm intrigued because, you know, like I said, new cast. How many reality shows do we even have in Detroit? Nobody really goes to Detroit for reality.
I mean, that's why I was interested in watching. But I'm going to tell y'all, so far, I'm not intrigued. I would just really quickly tell y'all, I feel like, and Evan and I talked about this a couple of days ago. These are all fun. This is all fun. That we give our commentary on shows and we watch reality TV to kind of escape from life. Like, it's funny, right? Like, we don't know these people. It's all fun and games, right? Where it stops being fun to me is when I continue to see a certain representation and mindset that leaves reality TV and I start to see it implemented in real life. And what I'm starting to notice in our community right now is a lot of sexism and hatred for women being the loudest voices in the room. And I do feel like that's very dangerous. You know, there's a lot of progress that our society needs to make. There's a lot of progress that we need to make in the Black community. So anything that takes us backwards, I'm not interested in. And I think this very old school, emotionally abusive, sexist, patriarchal shit is not something I'm interested in anymore. Especially when they are the loudest ones in the room, right? We're getting it from podcasts, we're seeing it on social media, we're getting it on, reality TV, and I'm not feeling that. So I don't know. We don't know. We're gonna watch one more episode to kind of see what else they're going to bring. But if all you're going to bring is once again another show on this network, because this network has an issue with this. But if it's going to be another show on the own network that perpetuates a lot of sexism and emotional and mental abuse of women, I'm not doing it. So that's just a warning. Y'all can let us know how y'all felt about Detroit. Yeah. I don't. OWN has an issue though, because I'm starting to Are you not starting to notice that on these shows?
I'm saying OWN, but it's by Carlos King, so start with him before the network.
But I mean, I'm thinking of Ready to Love, because I don't. Ready to Love isn't Carlos. Is Bell Collective Carlos? You wouldn't know. Bell Collective is Carlos, and they got the same issue over there right now, which is such a fake show. I do not like Bell Collective.
So in today's time, when it comes to just relationships as a whole, we really move to that thing where everybody says they want a partnership, but a lot of people don't understand a partnership is literally 50-50. And from the man aspect, we do have a bunch of guys out here that do not view their women as partners. When I say that, they feel like, a woman's not on a certain level as them, shouldn't be able to say certain things to them. You can't coach, can't critique. You should stay in a certain place, certain level. And, that's what just gets me. We want fair relationships. We want a happy relationship. A relationship is a partnership. Without a partnership, it's not a relationship. And that's what just gets me. We got people getting married to strangers because they don't know their person. Haven't reached the level of being a partnership yet, but getting married, which is why a lot of these people divorce, because they find out the true colors about their person when it gets to times that actually matter. In order to have a successful relationship, man, women, man, woman, it's one of things where you have to establish a relationship which then builds to a partnership. And a partnership literally is down the line being, giving the same treatment to your partner as if you'd want, giving the same effort as if you want, being honest with your partner as them being honest with you. It's just giving back what you want to. And a partnership, literally, like I said, is fair. And that's where a lot of these relationships lacks nowadays, especially in all the shows we watch. Come on now. Love and Marriage Huntsville. Y'all gonna see it in Detroit. Y'all see it in what was it? Real Housewives. All them shows. All these shows just show a lack of partnerships between these couples. But y'all, we definitely enjoyed y'all this episode. We appreciate y'all, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share our channel with your friends. We have a lot in store for y'all. Definitely hit the comments. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. We will definitely respond. Do you have any going away messages for our folks?
No, just make sure to like this video.
All right. Well, like I said, we will definitely tune in next week. We want y'all to tune in next week as well. We'll be here to review. But y'all know it's summertime. Drink y'all water, eat y'all fruit, and be safe in the streets or the sidewalk.
Bye.